Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. The stock market took a hit, and so did precious metals. Let's take a look. Boom! Let's explore! That's right, here are the numbers as you see. Pretty big hits across the board for all the metals. Gold was down well over 1.5 points at $31.40. Silver down a whole dollar. That's just over 4% decrease in the silver price. Platinum was down $11, and palladium was down almost $100. And even rhodium felt this with a well over 3% decrease, a $400 loss for rhodium there. Interesting indeed. So what's behind some of this? Well, the dollar. The dollar strength is the biggest driver here, and we're going to talk about this looking at this article from MarketWatch. And it kind of is reminiscent of a recent video I talked about how that saying that among these situations, the dollar is going to strengthen heading up to the election. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. Let's see what this MarketWatch article talks about here, as gold and silver logged the lowest settlements since late September. Gold futures fell sharply Wednesday to mark their lowest settlement in about a month, as declines in global equities in reaction to rising COVID-19 cases in Europe and the U.S. prompted investors to take refuge in the U.S. dollar. The go-to safe haven just now is the U.S. dollar, and the combined effect of a strong dollar, plus the need for investors to raise funds for margin calls, conspired to see gold lower. Ross Norman, Chief Executive Officer of Metals Daily, told MarketWatch. And there it is the U.S. dollar index is the major factor here we're seeing. And this is, I tell you folks, this is part of the reason why I believe in these natural market forces having the biggest role on gold and silver prices. Manipulation's there, but when you have these kind of drivers and psychological aspects, psychological economical aspects, this is the kind of things where you can see the movements like we've seen here. The dollar rose sharply with an ICE US dollar index, a gauge of the currency against 6 major rivals, up 0.5%. A stronger dollar can be a weight on dollar-denominated commodities, making them more expensive to users of other currencies. Still, if history is a guide, then the gold correction will only be a short-term issue, and it will be the scale and speed of recovery in gold prices in the coming weeks, which will give a good indication of underlying sentiment towards gold. And I believe that gold correction will be coming, and we're going to probably see higher gold prices return, especially after the election. Really, no matter who wins, as I've mentioned in a previous video about that as well. December gold fell $32.70 as of writing this article to settle at $1879.20. Actually, let's look at it again. It's $1877.20 now, an ounce. Prices based off the most active contracts settled at the lowest level since September 25th, according to FactSet data. December silver also lost $1.21 or 4.9% to $23.35 an ounce, the lowest since late September. Is $23.44 an ounce now. King dollar knocked gold off its high horse of stimulus expectations as expected. Wobbly period before the election turned into panic selling, said Edward Moya, senior market analyst at Oanda, in an emailed commentary. And that's just it. The dollar really is king. Here's the dollar. You're hearing it right here before your very ears. This dollar bill is really the king. We use it every day. And against the 6 other currencies out there, it is showing the strength, which is going to lead to lower prices. Don't ever sell the dollar short in a sense. And most of us really, whether or not we like it or want to admit it or not, the dollar is how we engage in commerce. It's how we buy our precious metals. It's how we pay our rent. It's how we pay our mortgage. It's how we survive. Gold and silver, they serve a different role. We can't transact with those as easily, although with things like the gold back or certain entities out there, certain stores that, well, hey, they may take payment in silver. There are some who do that, and I think that's wonderful, actually, and educational for folks. But aside from those exceptions, gold and silver act as a safe haven, as an insurance policy against an ever-degrading dollar. And by the way, make no mistake, just because a dollar is king does not mean that kings can't die. It doesn't mean that kings can't lose influence, and that it doesn't mean that kings will always remain powerful. In fact, just as a king who is a mortal being, as they age, they become less efficient, they become less valuable in a sense, because age is going to catch up to them. That's the same thing with the dollar, but for different reasons. Because there's really plenty of ways that we can prop up the dollar and keep it strong, but we're doing exactly the wrong things to do that. The article continues. Europe's deteriorating outlook due to COVID-19 has turned the spotlight on the European Central Bank, and that is sending the euro into free fall. And so that's just it. Against the euro, and look what's going on. France has now started another lockdown, which is going to last through the beginning of December. Strong dollar in Europe's woes has investors scrambling for cash and unwinding many of their anti-dollar bets, such as gold. European equities fell, and U.S. benchmark stock indexes saw heavy losses as European countries weighed imposing new round of lockdowns to contain a pandemic, and the U.S. saw a continued surge in new cases. This is really getting old, this COVID-19 thing, for sure, for many of us, and especially when we're seeing rising cases here and in Europe. And obviously, a lot of that also has to do with increased testing. But nonetheless, in some ways, even though I'm going to be very cautiously approaching this vaccine, for those, if I was in a very, very high risk area, I would probably welcome it at this point, just if it's a threat anyway. All right, let's see here. So the move in gold confirms that there's more of a cash raise type of market move than anything else, said Brad Brechtel, currency analyst in Jefferies, in a note. The number of new U.S. cases daily rose back above 70,000 on Tuesday, after hitting a record above 80,000 at the end of the week. The U.S. has reported a record 500,000 cases over the past week. The New York Times reported, while the 7-day average of confirmed new cases hit a record of 69,967 on Monday, according to a Wall Street Journal analysis of data from Johns Hopkins University. And again, with the public perception, and I want to try to separate whatever your personal feelings are about the virus. People call it a plandemic, people call it a scamdemic, and a lot of that is how the media has treated it. But the perception of the marketplace is going to be what's driving gold and silver, and that is kind of where I focus the conversation. So again, as you understand that, I'm not interjecting my personal opinion here about it. I'm talking about the market reaction to it, because that is very real, for sure. But nonetheless, I do think a lot of it has been politicized, and obviously that has moved the markets as well. And it's unfortunate that is the case. But nonetheless, once the panic selling is over, gold will benefit again from the stimulus trade, as the European Central Bank will be forced to do much more than what was expected, and the Federal Reserve is not too far, with some risk creeping into the credit markets, says Moya. So we saw, again, we talked about palladium taking a pretty big hit, and platinum as well, and rhodium too. And copper also settled about $3.06 a pound, which is down nearly 1% there. So very, very interesting indeed news, the markets, the movements. of the metals here. I believe this is just a temporary. I kind of agree with the author, and goes to show you a lot of things can happen, and some things unforeseen, and this is one of those. Kind of heading to the election where we have a dip, and if you have dry powder to make a move, it might be a good time, but you never know. The prices could go down even more, or it could stabilize at this point. It's the unpredictability of the markets is another thing that people have to factor. I can give my opinion. My opinion is I think these prices will go back up again, especially if we head past the next week after the election, or whatever. There's three outcomes of the election: Biden wins, Trump wins, or it's undecided. And we'll find out either way, and the markets will react, I think, accordingly. See how it all plays out in the end. So there you have it. Very interesting news again of the day. Post your thoughts in the comment section below. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch this video, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.